Welcome to the Urban Knish podcast, where we review software, we review gadgets, we talk about retro video games, we talk about music, and so much more. Hi, welcome to the Urban Knish YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about recording vinyl rips, Walkman, cassette decks, any kind of audio source that you want to rip into your Mac and into a FLAC file, WAV file, MP3. We're going to talk about that today. So, before we get started with the vinyl rips, they're a little bit different than recording with a phone or a Walkman or something like that, because you need first of all, you need an audio interface with all of these things, which your Mac has one built in, but you can also buy other ones. But the important thing with the vinyl is that you're going to need a preamp. So some of these audio interfaces have a built-in preamp, so that's kind of what we're going to talk about right now. So the setup that I'm using, this is kind of like my computer room setup, not my home audio setup, but basically I have a Nakamichi deck for recording audio from cassette, and also this Newmark DJ turntable that's very old, but it's a really great direct drive turntable that I got a long time ago, I think 2005. It's really nice. It allows me to change needles, for different sounds, and we can, depending on the record, if it's a beat up record, if it's a newer, more hi-fi record, you could change the needle. So in this case, I'm using an elliptical needle, and the interface that I'm using is a Korg, and this one is probably out of the reach for a lot of people, but I would say if you're serious about ripping vinyl, this is a really spectacular interface. So we'll talk about that first. The DS DAC 10R by Korg, it comes with its own audio ripping software, and I got to tell you, this is probably the best. You could rip right to DSD. I would say this is probably in the home recording category. This is probably the Cadillac. So you can record anything with this thing. It even includes a ground for your turntable. Very convenient. So, you saw with my setup, this is a small footprint. I mean, I'm literally shoving it underneath. It doesn't even have its own space. It's just a small thing. And the cool thing is I can unplug it and I could put it on a different computer. So if I wanted to really get serious and go with my home stereo, I could put a laptop next to it and record a vinyl copy from there. So it's portable, it's useful, but that's just one option. You can also get just a regular preamp like this from Shit Audio. You could plug this Manny preamp, which is really great preamp, $129, very affordable. The sound quality is amazing. It also has the necessary outputs, inputs, and ground. You can plug that right into your Mac. So you go from the output with a Y splitter cable RCA to headphone jack and plug it right into your Mac input, and you're ready to go. So this is probably the cheapest, best way to get audio in a Mac if you don't want to go down the route of the King Cadillac $600. I think it's $500 on Amazon or eBay. So the price did come down on that. But this one here is the Cadillac. But this is more than sufficient for what you need to do. So there's also other options that you could get on Amazon. Some of them are a little sketchy. I tried this Art DJ. There's a lot of surface noise. I'm not really into it. The cool thing about it is if you're not using vinyl, this is probably a good one for a cassette deck. If you wanted to do like a digital output, it has built-in digital outputs on the back. So some things it's good at, some things it isn't. I probably wouldn't recommend that for vinyl. These smaller units, I have not a pile, but there's another one that's identical to it. I can't remember what it is. I also, actually it's this one, the Behringer. I got some surface noise with that, so I would not recommend that one either. You might want to spend a little bit more and get the Shit, or maybe these other the Cambridge or the Project, those are very highly rated. So those are probably better options. Now, some turntables come with a built-in preamp. It's probably okay for most people. If you're an audiophile, it's not going to be good enough. I would say, skip it and use one of the boxes. If you can afford it, get the box. So now that we've gone over that, we can talk about actually ripping. There are a bunch of free tools that you could get for the Mac that will allow you to record the audio, tag the audio file. You could save it as a FLAC, you could save it as WAV, whatever, MP3, and then put it on your phone or share it with your friends. So this is really cool. You could actually even rip a CD of it. So the first thing that we're going to do is download Audacity, which is the software program that allows us to record audio. So we're going to go to audacityteam.org, click the download, go to Mac. Then we're going to look for the latest file, and right now it's 2.3.1. We're going to download it from this site, which I already have, and open it up. And then you're just going to drag this icon to your applications, which we've already done here. So, open the program, and this is a neat little trick that it's not necessary. You could go into System Preferences and go to Sound, but I like to use the MIDI interface because it gives you every option linearly in the left-hand side. So to find this, you could go type in MIDI, and it'll show up right here. Double click on it, and usually I'll tell it keep in the dock because I really like this program, this little interface. So from here, if you're doing any kind of recording, I don't believe it's necessary to use this with Audacity because you could select your inputs and outputs up here. But if you want system audio for anything else, for any other kind of program, you're going to need to go in here, and for each system option, like if you wanted to export from this option here, you'd say use this for output. If I wanted to record from a Scarlett box, right click, you're going to use that. So you right click and you tell it to use it for input or output. So we'll get rid of this. So for this, you can pick whatever audio interface you're going to use. You can pick from here. Right now I'm using the built-in input on the Mac, which is very good. But you can also use, I can't use the Scarlett because that's what I'm using to record audio here with my voice. But I have some other options on here that I'm not going to use right now, but I'm going to use the input. And then for the output, this is going to this home stereo that I'm using right now, but I can use any of these other output devices. So to record vinyl, we'll just go with vinyl right now. You're going to plug your turntable into your audio interface. So if your audio interface is the built-in input, you're going to need a cable that goes from a RCA to a basically your headphone jack, and you're going to plug that into your audio input on the Mac. You can also get a standard cable that has a headphone jack on either side, and you could plug that into, say, a Walkman or an iPod, things like that. So we're just going to run through a test here. I'm just going to drop the needle anywhere, and I'm not going to play any sound through this because I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike. But so this is a needle drop, King Crimson, and I'm just going to hit stop. So now I have my audio rip. Let's say this was one side of the record. You can go in and you can, let's say this was the whole side. For each track that you wanted to record, you can highlight it and then you can export out. And then also you can normalize the track. Actually, I don't like this. I'm going to minimize it again. You can normalize the track. So I'm going to select all, and I'm going to say Effect, Normalize. And then I'm going to grab, I'm going to do each one independently. So now when I hit play, it's going to be robust, but it's not going to compress it so that it sounds terrible. So, File, Export, and then now let's say that was a track that I wanted to export, like track 1 or track 2. Export selected audio. Then you're going to tell it what you want. So if you want to go straight from here to a FLAC file or an MP3, you could do that. Typically what I'll do, in case I need to edit it later, is I'll save it as a WAV file to my desktop, and then I'll do my editing once I'm done. So desktop, and I'm going to say test. This is a waste of time if you're using WAV, but if you wanted to do a FLAC or an MP3, you could put all this information in right now. So you could say King Crimson, track title, that would be, I don't know what that is, track 1, etc. So I'm going to save that. So you're going to do this with every type of file. So if you're doing a cassette deck or the phone, whatever you're ripping from, you're going to save in the same manner. And sometimes when I do this, if it's an album, I'll say, just so I can keep track of where I'm at, I'll say like 01 test. So once I'm done with all these, let's see. Sometimes I will edit them just to make sure that everything looks good. So let's open this up. Now, I don't like, for this, I would probably fade this out. So you could do a fade out. There's all kinds of neat functions in here. Of course, you're not just going to do a brutal, eyeballing it like that. You'd zoom in and then do it at the right point, but I'm just kind of illustrating. And then at the beginning, you might want to generate silence. Whoops. Generate silence. Wait a minute, let me make sure I'm at the beginning. Just to give it a small lead in. And I don't want 30 seconds, I want. It's going to let me do this. I just want 1 second. There we go. So it gives you a little lead in. I'm just going to kind of chop it in half. Half a second is probably enough, so that when you play it, it's nice and smooth. Whoa, we don't want to do that. So anyway, now I can hit save. Why isn't it letting me? That's interesting. I guess I have to export it. That's wacky. So I'll call that test A. Same thing. So now that I've edited my file, I want to convert it to a FLAC. No. So for that, I use another free program called Max. And you can get that at, I believe it's Sound Booth. Let's see. Mac Update. So this one's at macupdate.com if you do a search for it. Mac Max. This is a really great program. You can rip CDs with it. You can do file conversions. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Well, actually, let's just pretend like we're doing both. Like one's a track 1 and one's a track 2. So I'm just going to illustrate how you can. So if you select both of them, you can put in all your information. It'll go across. I'm just going to make up some things here. So now you can go to each track, put your track numbers, give it a title. You could give it album art. And I don't like using Google because I don't want to participate in things that spy on me. Pick your best image, drag it over. Now go into preferences. So you're going to tell it what format that you want. I'm picking FLAC, but you can also add MP3. Set your preferences. Bitrate high. Stereo. However you want to do this. Why isn't it letting me? Yikes. Here we go. I wanted 320. I'm going to do both of these. Okay, so I have my format. Now I want my output. I'm going to tell it the desktop. And then you convert. Very quick. So put it in a King Crimson folder. There's the name of the album. It doesn't give you a separate folder for each format, but you can kind of separate it this way and then copy and paste. But if you... I'm just going to take the risk of getting a copyright strike here. Being the rebel that I am. Okay. So you can see that works. So you could use this method with any format of sound file, system, whatever you want. Computer to computer, mini disk to WAV file, whatever you want to do. With 2 free programs, Mac Max and Audacity. Did I close Audacity already? Yes, I did. Okay. So what else could we talk about here? Okay, well, let's say you wanted to, you converted some files, but you made some tagging mistakes. There's another free program called Kid 3. Kid 3 is a great program, another open source. So kid3.sourceforge.io. Download it here. You can pick your Linux, Windows, or Mac. I already have it installed. So let's get rid of Macs. Where did I put Kid 3? Where is Kid 3 here? Let's just type it in. Kid 3. This is a really great program. So when I go in here, you could do, well, you could do the whole, you could do the entire directory, or you could do individual tracks. But usually when I'm doing it, I'm trying to do a whole album. So now this one is kind of funky because I have 2 different formats. Let's say I just wanted to do the FLAC files. So I could select those 2, put whatever information I want now. So I can say, what's the proper name for this? In the Court of King Crimson. Now I hit save. So that just tagged the file. And then if you're missing album art, you can also use this method of dragging it over to this place. So that concludes my tutorial on recording. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments section, and have a great day.